Good afternoon, everyone. LJ here, yeah, it is the Go Biz guy. I mean, too much coffee, not enough morning. And this podcast is for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. And today we're going to talk about a sweet topic, customer service. I know you guys have probably, had a lot of input on customer service and you know what to do and everything like that. But we have a professional and he's going to talk a whole lot about customer service. And he's a certified trainer, Maxwell Leadership, John Maxwell, and he's a certified facilitator. He speaks and trains areas of leadership, team building, sales development, and personal growth. I almost wish I was him. Trained and mentored by John C. Maxwell himself. And he is just a world class. He mentors a world class facility. Archie is equipped with tools, resources, experiences to improve productivity. What company doesn't want to improve productivity? So, I'll tell you what, I just want to introduce to you my friend. We grew up together and just love that he's on this show podcast, Archie Looper. Archie, welcome.
Well, good morning, Lauren. Great to be with you again today, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Listen, I want to give some kudos to the podcast. Is brought to you in part by Focus Marketing Company. Focus Marketing Company is more than just a marketing agent. They're your partners in success. Your goals are their focus. Whether you are looking for increasing sales, build your brand, or connect with your audience, they've got you covered. And trust me, they do. They're talented, experienced team specializes in social media. I can't even read and talk today, man. Elevation, video production, strategic planning, marketing campaign, development, and more. Choose Focus Marketing, where your goals are their focus. Visit them online today, right now, focusmco.com, and let them turn your vision into reality. Okay, all right, here we go. So listen, we're going to talk about customer service, and you have so many disciplines that you operate in customer service. And so let's start out by maybe giving a definition of what is customer service.
Yeah, I think we have to even make a distinction between customer service, because I think customer service is something that everybody expects. Whether they're buying a product, they're going to a movie, they're, taking an air flight. So what I think we need to distinguish, Lauren, is customer service, which everybody expects, and what is really exceptional customer service.
Okay. All right.
In other words, what is the level of expectation of what service really should be in our companies if we really want to do really well in that particular area?
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so I interviewed a restaurant group, Taco Brothers, and they have about 9 other restaurants, some Italian. And what's cool about them as they were setting up their Taco Brothers and everything, they always have a meeting. And sure, they've got some Latinos and everything else like that, and that's cool. But what they do is they set up for customer service a kind of code of ethics. Okay. And so what they do is they say, okay, listen, basically, in a kind of an overview, they give the mission of the company and everything's like, they give the code of ethics. And they say, listen, just want to be polite to you. If you can't abide by these code of ethics, then we probably don't want you to work for us. Okay.
Well, yeah, and growing up in the food business, myself, which we grew up in Ventura, California. We ran a chain of 22 restaurants, cafeterias, hotels, bakeries. So growing up in the food business, I just know how important it is to really serve customers on a high level. And, I think really, Lauren, would you agree? I think since COVID, there's even a higher level of expectation of great customer service than there used to be. I think it's expected now.
Yes, I would totally agree with you. I think one of the pitfalls of COVID, okay, it transferred a lot of things over into the internet as well. And so there's a call center issue that has developed within companies like Amazon and so on and so forth. And so rather than having person to person experiences with customer service, COVID has affected so many areas of business. And so I think you're right. I think the expectations are okay. So, and I don't know whether this is like good, bad, or indifferent. But I had an ex relative that she would go to restaurants and she would put a $10 ones on the table and said, "Listen, you can either have all of this or you can have none of it."
So making the point about a tip that she would be giving them at
Yeah,
the end of the
yeah,
meal.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
so,
got you.
yeah,
I got
so,
you.
so, what does that have to do with customer service? It's because she's either been burnt on customer service or she just wants the best customer service.
Yeah, and I think that's the expectation. And I think good customer service is the ante to get in the game. I mean, it's what's expected. So I think what we really need to be looking at is what does it take to really offer service on a level that would be considered as exceptional. And exceptional is, I mean, just the word itself,
Yes,
extraordinary,
right.
unusual. I think to deliver a level of exceptional customer service, Lauren, it's a level of service you become intentional about delivering. It doesn't just happen. I mean, you can't just depend on good people giving good service, exceptional customer service. You've got to be very intentional about and specific planning and activities and things that you do intentionally to make sure there's a higher level of service all throughout that customer experience.
Like what? What would you do?
Well, as an example, years ago, Scandinavian Airlines. Let me just kind of give you an example.
Okay.
Jan Carlson came in as CEO of Scandinavian Airlines. I mean, this is back in the 80s. This was a big airline, and they were going through some major issues. And so when he came in, he wanted to identify every customer contact. And so he looked at their business at that time, 10 million customers. I think each customer would have a contact with maybe 5 people at Scandinavian Airlines, 15 seconds a piece. And what he talked about was moments of truth. And it's every interaction that a customer would have, beginning driving up to the airport,
Oh, wow.
getting out of the car, going up to check their bags,
Wow.
that kind of contact, maybe walking out to the airline, seeing a flight attendant or a pilot and maybe a wave or, something, a smile coming from them. Every time there was a contact, he defined that as being a moment of truth.
Oh, wow.
And to be intentional about how that moment of truth was really going to happen. And so they would plan out whether it was the phone. Now this is the 80s. I mean,
Yes,
they
right,
didn't
right,
have,
right. Yeah.
they weren't going online to book airlines. They're calling in.
Yeah.
So he wanted to define every single moment of truth. And I think this is a great activity for companies in every industry. And I teach this in my customer service seminars, is to begin to define at least 3 to 5 moments of truth, whether it's internet, by phone, face to face, whatever it is, and then to be intentional about defining what should that experience be on a higher level. What would we do in offering, answering the call in under 5 seconds, repeating a customer's name, being intentional about active listening. I mean, everything that can be
Wow.
done in that particular moment of truth, to be intentional about it and make sure that it's done in an exceptional way.
So, so you listed three items. Do they have to focus on all three items, or do they have to pull out one, the internet, the call center, or whatever, in order to do what you just said?
No, I think, Lauren, that's a great question. I think we need to look at different, at least 3 to 5 particular moments of truth. And then within each of those contacts with customers and the company, what does it look like? What can we do to raise it to a level of exceptional? And you think about from the restaurant point of view, walking in the restaurant from that moment. And I would even tell you now, I've been in the restaurant business,
Yeah.
Lauren,
Yeah.
and so I don't think I'm really hard, extra hard on restaurants, but I have a different viewpoint having grown up in the business.
Sure.
So my experience begins even before I walk in the door. You know what I mean? We're driving up to the parking lot. Is signage good? What does the landscaping look like?
Okay.
Um, and then once I get out of the vehicle, I'm walking up to the building. Are there handprints on the door? Are there cigarette butts maybe, outside? Is there trash out and around? All of those things for me sets an impression of what I'm going to experience even before I walk in the door.
Look, I'll tell you what, and I think entrepreneurs do this, but I'm like you. In fact, I even go to the bathroom sometimes just to find out if the bathrooms are clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can probably think, and I'm sure your listeners can think of times when they approached a restaurant never to walk in the front door because something that they saw or they experienced that just turned them off because it represented what the meal might be once they went in. And that's why first impressions are really important. But that would be a moment of truth. That could
I
be
love it.
defined when the customer drives on the parking lot. That is a moment of truth until they walk into the door. And
So,
then,
yeah, go
then it
ahead.
would proceed, it would, no, it would, it would proceed from there through the experience and how every touch point along the way, they can do things that would be intentional to make it an exceptional experience.
So, I take a look at Longhorn Steakhouse. Don't know whether you've ever been in one or not.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you look at them, first impressions are very cool, and they take care of the landscape, and usually everything's clean. And sometimes when you walk in, guess what? You'll be greeted by hello, happy, and everything else like that. But I have never had a bad experience in a Longhorn Steakhouse. So I think corporately, to be honest with you, I think corporately they've identified some of those key things that you indicated. A moment of truth. So they must hire the best. People to do the landscape, architects. They have a portfolio of really professional people to make this all work. It's not like, and I hate to say this is a sidebar, but I'm probably not going to have ABC company, construction company on a local basis do some things for me. I'll probably already have some corporate people that are lined up just because of the continuity of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about walking in the door at Longhorn. That's another moment of truth because how many times have you opened the door? You've walked in, the good engagement, hello from the host or hostess. But have you ever approached a door and all of a sudden it opened for you even before you grab the handle?
Never,
So
never.
to me, that's a level, and I've had that happen a couple times where even when I'm walking up to the door, that door is already opening, a smile on the face, glad to see you today, come right in. To me, that would be, you know what I mean? Walking in the door would be a moment of truth that they wanted to create an exceptional experience. Now, can they do that with every customer? No, not always, but it's an effort that they put in when they're able to be approaching the door. And when you see people outside coming in and open the door for those customers, it just raises the notch to a
Wow.
level of what's exceptional.
Well, so you must have ate at Chris's Steakhouse. I forget the full name and everything because that's the top level steakhouse right there, and
Right.
they have exceptional wine with their steaks. But at any rate, so I think what's interesting is I think that it doesn't have to be a rich um, steakhouse. It doesn't have to be but you know what? I would hope that and this is crazy stuff because small business owners are, I guess, in a customer service base, they want revenue to happen. Okay. But can you
Right.
imagine if they assign somebody to do what you just said? Like even a nail salon. If you went into a nail salon, I take my wife regularly, and I've had a pedicure once or twice too, so I endorse that. But if you go into a pizza place or something like, and they open the door, can you imagine what kind of revenue stream that would do?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about a position, there used to be customer service managers and different people like that, but the level of customer service is now becoming a customer experience manager or a director of customer experience, because customer service and customer experience is complete. It's two different things. Because let me give you an example.
Okay, cool.
Customer service is a specific situation where someone serves a customer well to give them a good experience. It's assisting a customer in a particular need in a particular circumstance, a specific circumstance. On the other hand, customer experience refers to the whole customer journey.
Okay.
From the beginning of the moment they drive onto the parking lot all the way through to the end of the experience. So where we used to talk about customer service in specific examples of things we do, now we're looking more at customer experience and what is the whole experience from all those different moments of truth wrapped together. How are we going to define those moments in being an exceptional experience to really make a difference with our customers? And we're not talking, Lauren, just about restaurants. We're talking about manufacturing, retail,
Okay. Yeah.
medical, doctors' offices. There's every area. And I've taught customer service in dental offices.
Wow.
And we talk about moments of truth in every industry. I think it's an important thing to keep in mind and to be intentional about developing.
And you know what? I think what happens to small businesses, I think sometimes they do analytics on numbers, and sometimes they say, "Oh my gosh, our revenue's down," and then they want to do like more Facebook time, or they want to do spend some money in Google ads or something, but they don't go back to the basics like you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, or just inviting a group of customers to come in for a roundtable every quarter.
Oh
Bring
my
some
gosh!
customers in.
What?
Talk to your customers. Not only, Lauren, not only talking to customers, but talking to your people. I mean, taking time to really listen to the frontline people, whether they're in a call center, whether they're working in the restaurant, and this is where the environment, and I find this is really key. And let me give you an example. Many times I'm invited to come in to teach about exceptional customer service. How do we do that? And the problem is many times I'll come into an organization, bring some great ideas and things like that. But can I tell you, if the relationship between senior leadership and customer service people is not strong and it's a safe environment to work in, no matter the great ideas I can bring, it'll never stick.
Right.
It'll never make an impact unless there's a great relationship with the people that are in that particular company. And that's why, talking to customers, bringing them in occasionally, and talking to your customer service people and asking them where are our most complaints coming from? What ideas do you have? What do we need to change to really get better in this area of customer service?
Do you think CEOs, small, medium, or large companies, are not even interested in customer service?
I think they are. I mean, again, I don't want to talk, because being a CEO in a major restaurant company myself, I was passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of executives are passionate, but the more layers of, senior management,
Okay.
that get above the frontline service staff and get away from actually what's going on every day, that really can become a problem when you're really not in touch with really what's going on. And I know a lot of CEOs that still go on the front lines every day of their businesses. And that's a part of what that companies that, where CEOs are actively involved daily in the everyday business that's going on. Those are companies that really do make a difference in customer service.
Well, let me just, our last experience at Longhorn and everything. Just we're not endorsing it, but it's a good company.
Right.
So
Good place.
at any rate, they were busy. I mean, they were packed, and the other steakhouse I don't like to go to. It's too noisy. You talk about environment. You pick and choose environments, and so at any rate, I noticed one thing. I'm a casual observer all the time, from the waitress. And I don't know why we're focusing in on restaurants, maybe because we go there all the time. But so I noticed that the GM, usually GMs make pretty good money at a Longhorn. I think they start out at
Right,
130 and go on up. But at any rate,
right.
I noticed one thing. The guy that actually we came into and everything, he was kind of nice. He's a young guy, tall. He had hair hanging in his eyes, and he, I mean, it was just a different thing. All of a sudden, I noticed as they got busy, the GM got in there. Okay. And he did what you're saying, man. I mean, hey, how you doing? Congratulate. Thanks you for coming in. He was so politeful, and I thought, you know what? You probably ought to teach that to your entire staff. But then, as we were seated, I start talking to the waitress, and I said, "Hey, listen, how long have you been doing this? And what are your future plans?" I mean, I don't know. I dig pretty deep. Not everybody does that. And I ask her name, and then I say, "Well, here, I'm Lauren. This is Tracy." I mean, I'm just that kind of guy. But it's interesting how that guy made the adjustments right away. I loved it.
Yeah, and I think I think there's a difference. There's two connections. I think that every individual working in customer service needs to make. They make number one. You think about this. If this is true, you make a mental connection, and you also make an emotional heart connection.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, I know a lot of people, and I've seen general managers walking around checking on people, but it's very surface level.
Yes, I agree.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a mental connection there. But then when you have someone that really stops by your table and gives you great eye contact, and you can tell is sincerely interested in how the service and meal is, and they're taking a moment to connect with you, that's many times what's missing is that heart emotional connection with people that really do care about your experience, and not just, you know what I mean, not just making a mental connection, checking the box, they walk by the table, they checked on you, but really their heart. And that's where empathy comes in, I think, in
Yeah.
customer service, where people really do care about the people they serve.
And even on the phone, I mean, I've had some bad experience with some companies, and for them, and I've got to make a phone call here after this podcast to a company that's really jacked me up, and I spend some money with them. So, but for them to get on the phone and say, "Listen, I'm so sorry that this happened to you." Okay, again, the empathy, and then they say, "How can I help you?" And I think the script becomes like, especially, and this is you're gonna probably think I'm a chauvinist. What, like if you get foreign countries like India or the Philippines, they have a script that they pull up, okay, and they cannot make that emotional contact. Some of them do, some of them, I don't know, but I just think that the more training that people have, and I would say Archie needs to come in and do that for you guys, but you need to have like a flow chart that gets you to that emotional point. And I think it's a belief in the brand. I think it's a belief in the product. I think it's a belief in your job. And I think you can't create special people. But I think there's so many components to customer service and the experience. And I have to totally agree with you on the experience that people want. We go to, let's say we go to travel and we go to the Mexico or something. Okay. We want authentic Mexican food. Okay. And you get it, but you want the top notch because you spend some dollars on it. So I think, if you go to a resort, man, they've trained their people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned about the training and development, and let me back up a little bit even
Okay.
before the training.
All right.
I think, and I've kind of touched on this. I think it starts with how you take care of your people. Richard Branson made a quote. He made a statement: "Take care of your employees; they'll take care of your business." It's as simple as that. Healthy, engaged employees are your top competitive advantage. So, number one, I think it depends. It begins with a
Excuse
great
me.
relationship with ownership or senior leadership and their people. That's where it begins. But number two, even before the training kicks in, Lauren, I think we have to hire correctly for customer service. In other words, in the teaching that I do, I think there's three categories of people. when you're hiring for customer service, and I talk about people kind of falling in three categories, I think number one, there's one group of people that I would define as those that don't have a heart for customer service. They just don't get it.
Okay.
I mean, you've got some people that are hardwired, and this is not to take away for anything from them, but they just really don't have a heart for customer service. Let me give an example. I live in Palm Harbor, Florida, a golf resort. I was going out one morning, early morning. I had to catch a flight. I went up to a gate that I forgot did not open for maybe another 15 minutes.
Okay.
And so when I drove up to the gate attendant was just getting there. His truck was parked in front of me. The gate is closed, but he gets out of the truck, looks at me, walks in the guardhouse, comes back out, looks at me, gets something out of his truck, gets back out, looks at me. I'm watching this going on. And finally,
right.
he starts walking towards me. And I said, is everything okay? He said, no, do you have a problem? And I said, no, I don't. I'm still trying to wake up.
Yeah.
Lauren.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no, I just need to go out the gate. Well, the gate doesn't open for another 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I said, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I forgot about that. So he walked away. I rolled up my window, turned around, and I went out the south gate, all the time thinking, now I'm beginning to wake up. And I'm thinking, does he even know what I do for a living?
Right.
That this is going to be an example of someone that does not have a heart for customer service, that I'm going to be talking on an international podcast at some point in time. But you know what I mean? What if he did have a heart for customer service, what might he have done differently?
Right.
Maybe approach me. Hey, how you doing this morning? I don't know if you know, but this gate is not open. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There are some people that don't have a heart for customer service. On the other extreme, I think there are people that are hardwired for customer service. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe it's a server that you've experienced, maybe a flight attendant, you've been on a flight, but someone that just blows you away with incredible customer service. And they get it. They have empathy, a natural desire to serve people on a high level. So those are the two extremes. And then right in the middle, I think there's a third group of people who with training and direction can make the change.
Okay. All right.
So that's where training comes in. But I think when it comes to customer service, holy cow, Lauren, you've got to hire the right people, or you'll fight a battle, whether it's a call center, the restaurant business, airlines, manufacturing, whatever it is. If you don't hire correctly, you're going to be in trouble. So I think you need to, hire correctly, know what skills, what strengths are needed in your particular customer service environment, and have questions that you're asking people in the hiring process to see how will they handle, a particular situation. Maybe a question about empathy. Do they have a natural heart for people? Different strengths, and then asking questions to make sure in the beginning that we hire correctly.
Wow, that's some deep stuff right there, because I think getting back to the restaurant that had a code of ethics, I think that if we don't have expectations in our hiring abilities, I think what a lot of companies are doing right now, they're just hiring to fill a position. And I don't think they're qualifying people that much, And so I know a lot of small businesses have a high turnover because they can't qualify the people when they're hiring them. And I think it's just, small business people. I don't think I don't know. I think there's a lot of benefits to what you say. I don't know, if you have a heart, and maybe I don't know, maybe if you're born again Christian, I don't know. If you have a heart and empathy for people, you're probably a great candidate for customer service. Okay,
Absolutely, that's the key.
and
Absolutely.
I don't think everybody's cut out to be that, and so. I just think that corporations need to have a standard of hiring, like you mentioned about customer service. Listen, revenues will be up or down if you don't do customer service right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's dependent upon that.
it is, and I think you know, key elements to having good customer service, relationships in the workforce are really critical, like you said. And unless sometimes I've consulted companies that have some internal problems, okay, and try to isolate the business from the leadership, and try to unite everything. And I've gone kind of through a split on a company, uh, and it was a great organizational thing for them to get a hold of to benefit the company and cut ties with some of their stockholders. So I think that you have to have, maybe, like you said, I love the concept that you put in there. Meet with some of your customers, meet with your staff on a quarterly basis. Not Look, don't have a freaking sales meeting every day. Don't have a customer service meeting every day. Make it manageable so people have a better input, right?
Well, absolutely. And when the team knows that they're a part of the decision making process, it's going to make a major difference in whatever, type of business you manage. Talk to your people and ask them, how can we get better? How can we do better? What are your ideas that we need to implement to be able to serve customers on a much higher level? And I think there are some companies or some senior leadership that are afraid to ask that question,
Yeah. You
because I think part of the answer is going to be in the relationship that they have with their people.
And they could lose their job.
Well, if it's not a safe environment to speak up and push back and give constructive criticism, that yes, they could lose their job, and oh my gosh, Lauren, that's such a bad environment to be in when people are afraid to speak up, because they're going to lose a job, lose an opportunity. And when you have an unsafe environment like that, when people don't feel psychologically safe working in a company, they're just going to be punching a clock and trying to get through the day.
Hey, yeah.
Never mind trying to serve people at a high level or handle an issue when it comes up.
Hey, listen, I tell you what, I just, as a sidebar, customer service is internal for a nonprofit that I was, excuse me, too much coffee, not enough air. But I had this nonprofit that I took over, and and the lady left. I think she went to Tennessee, and she was the executive director for this nonprofit. I don't know if I'll mention the company or not, but anyway, we taught economics in high school. Okay, we taught economics by learning by doing, entrepreneurship by developing a product, keeping books, et cetera, et cetera. So I was very involved with that organization, and then they tapped me to head up the organization on kind of a statewide basis, kind of a regional basis, and everything. And I had no background. I was like the program manager. This is way back when. I had hair then, and so all of a sudden, the first day, Archie, the FBI was in my office, and all hell broke loose. People were
Oh, no.
calling me and stuff. There was a embezzlement that had gone after she left. She wasn't involved with the embezzlement, but there was a volunteer. So I had to take this organization from this all this mess, right? And I
Right.
had to like create opportunities so the community would like them, because I had huge organizations donating money to me, and I had to do this. So the first financial statement that I ever did, because I don't have a financial background, I was in an executive committee meeting, and I presented it to them, And they looked at me and they tore up that freaking financial statement and they said, "You better get your act together." And I'm going, "Well, okay. All right. I just inherited this organization 2 days ago."
Right,
So
right.
at any rate, so there was just a conglomeration of meeting with so many people, like you said, in order to straighten out this organization. And we only raised like $200,000 on an annual basis, but we had a huge impact on the community. Anyway, long story short, I was able to take a bad situation, turn it into a good situation. We won some national awards. I was asked to join the corporate in Colorado. I didn't do that, but at any rate, so you understand what communication does when you have a bad situation. You either get rid of the people or you find out the root of that problem and make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that there's always some nonverbals that take place in customer service and in life. To be honest with you, if you go to church and everything, and you meet someone, if they look down at the ground or something, maybe they got a heart problem. I don't know, but
Right.
I mean, all this stuff about human development and everything is critical. We need to learn how to be better people, right?
Well, be better people and communicate better. And you mentioned about nonverbals. Nonverbals, I think, is incredibly important in whether it's in the restaurant business and any type of customer service. I use an acronym in my teaching, the acronym of the word soften,
Okay.
SOFTEN, soften, and beginning with S. S is a excuse me, begins with a smile. Smile is the key to great customer service. I mean, it relaxes you.
Yeah.
If you're in a bad mood, smile. It's contagious. I mean, everything makes things better when you communicate with a smile. I think the O is open posture.
Okay.
Having your body open to your customers, hands not in your pocket, you're open, an open stance, that you're there to communicate with them. The F is a forward lean, again leaning into the conversation, not aggressively, not a body that's leaning towards someone in an aggressive way. It could be as maybe a head tilt to leaning towards a customer to let them know that you're really listening to them. The T is territory. I think coming out of COVID, we understood about that 6 foot
Oh,
territory,
we
but
sure did. Yeah.
have you ever been around someone that doesn't understand, personal territory? It
Yeah.
gets,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean, Lauren? You're in a conversation with someone, maybe in a dinner party, and they're just really too close.
Yeah, yeah, they're in my space.
They're in your personal space, and then there's social distance, there's public distance. So
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of that. The E is eye contact. Eye contact is key
Oh, it is. Yeah.
to really let customers know you're really listening to them. And the N is just a nodding of the head to just let them know you confirm the message and that, they're in to what, to what you're connecting with them. And that's what active listening, really is all about. Years ago, let me mention one other thing.
Cool.
Years ago, Dr. Albert Morabian made a study about spoken words, voice and tone, body language, and he put percentages to each. And in the study, he came up with 7% spoken words, 38% voice or tone, 55% body language. And first of all, that's been taught wrong because a lot of people teach that as first level communication. And that's really not correct. First level communication, I think you would agree with me, especially being on a podcast, words
Yes.
make a difference.
Oh
Spoken
gosh.
words
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Articulation is incredibly important. But here's the key in customer service. What Dr. Albert Morabian was trying to say is when you are confused by the message, in other words, someone says something to you and you're unsure of the message, then go to body language 55%, 38% voice and tone,
Love
and
it.
less emphasis on the spoken words. Now, as an example, have you ever gone in? We keep talking about restaurants
Yeah.
today,
It's all right.
but have you ever gone in, maybe the other steakhouse, Service was not good, food not much better. And when you're leaving, someone asks you a question, how was everything? And how did you respond? I was okay.
I would personally, I would tell them it sucked. That's how I
Well,
operate.
well, see, and that's the problem. A
Yeah.
lot of customers, and that's it. That's a really good point. Here's the challenge. Normally customers will make one of three decisions. Either number one, they're going to like it. Number two, they can dislike it. That's Lauren. And you'll speak up to that. But did you know there's a third one? It's not liking, it's not disliking. The third one is being indifferent.
Okay.
And that's the scary part of customer service, is someone leaving that's indifferent.
Yep.
And that would be that person, the majority of people that would just say, oh, it was okay, and they walk out and they never go back again.
That's right.
And so keeping that in mind about body language and voice or tone, if you're forward facing with a customer and they say, oh, it was okay. Well, no. I mean, I can tell by their body language and their tone of voice. No. And so I encourage people to re-engage with them and ask them, can I just, I'm getting a sense that maybe everything was not okay. Let me ask you a couple questions, instead of just letting you walk out and never come back again. So yeah, nonverbals. I think nonverbals are really important in how you read your customers. And I think Lauren, it goes back to empathy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't really care about a customer, it doesn't matter. You probably prefer they just go ahead and walk down the road if you really don't have empathy for them. But if you do have a heart for customer service, you will pick up on that, and you will be motivated to say, you know what, sir or ma'am, I'm just concerned that maybe everything was not okay. And that concerns me. Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Right.
Because we want to make sure the experience is great and on a level of exceptional.
I'll go back to that nonprofit that I was head of. I was trying to be introduced to some board members, and they had, I don't know, it was an annual Christmas party where alcohol was served and all this other stuff. And this guy, I didn't realize who he was, man. He was small in stature, and I didn't know he was like almost a bazillionaire. And he owned a bunch of coal mines in West Virginia. Of course, you know how that rolls. And so I don't know whether I had a cocktail, wine, or something in my hand, and I went to shake his hand, and I spilled the drink all over his suit.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Here I'm
Yeah,
trying to be
I can
primed for
see
this
it.
job. Yeah.
Right.
So bottom line, okay, is that he and I became very close. I would go to his house, and we would have lunch. We'd sit on the deck. I don't know. His garage was full of expensive cars and everything, and he drove a Subaru to the board meetings. He had a that's why I'm a Subaru guy right now, because of him. But
Right.
he would never drive one of his expensive cars. He always drove around in a Subaru, and so he owned, like I said, tons of. So I'd go to his house for lunch, and I'd say, Jim, I said, listen, thank you so much, and appreciate your contributions. I said, would you mind renewing your support for 10 grand for us this year? And he'd holler out to his wife, say, go get the checkbook. And so he would write it out with a little bit of increase. Okay. My point is that I took something bad and I kept on cultivating something good, so that the end result was that I got an increase in contribution just because of our relationship. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and those things are so critical. I made a boo boo, but I corrected it. And I think you're spot on when you go back to relationships. I think it's key that upper management, middle management, if they don't understand what's going on in the organization, then they're going to suffer. And I'm going to ask you a question, because I don't know whether there's a value to this, but so let's say a typical customer within an average environment, or maybe I guess an average environment. What if they actually or what's the expectations on revenue per customer? I know that depends on the company, but let's say that in a restaurant the average meal is $100 or $200. That's going to be the average, and they're in there 4 or 5 times. Okay, now you're up to $1,000 for that one family, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we call that, it's a CLV. We call that customer lifetime value, not only for that particular year, but taking care of that individual customer. What difference will that make long term? Let me give an example. I was teaching customer service up in Ohio at a major steel chainsaw distributorship.
Okay.
Steel.
Yeah.
You're up in Kentucky. You might have used a steel chainsaw.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah, great quality equipment. And the idea is that an owner of a steel saw will probably pass that down, to their son. They'll step up to another saw. And then if you can just kind of track that experience going down not just generationally, but with friends and family that they know. I mean, customer lifetime value is critically important. That's why two things. Number one, that's why customer retention is much more important than customer acquisition,
Thank you.
because it is much cheaper and more profitable to keep the customers you have than to go out and market to new customers. That's number one.
Isn't
And
that
then
yeah?
go
Isn't
ahead.
that interesting? Because it's always that way in business. It's better to generate revenue from current customers than it is to do acquisitions. And salespeople have a hard time doing new customers, and that's what they're solely hired to do is to get new customers, right?
Yeah, right. And yeah, actually, and most existing customers, they're going to spend more.
Yep.
And I don't know, Lauren, exactly the percentage. I think a 5% increase in customer retention will equal a 15 to 20% increase in net profit
Okay.
of the business,
All right.
because
Yeah.
keeping who you have, the profitability is going to be greater. And
Right.
I think that's what's really important. And I think the other thing, it doesn't take major changes to make a difference in customer service. I teach, in fact, some of your listeners may have an answer to this question. At what temperature does water boil?
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, it boils at 212 degrees. And I talk about 212-degree customer service, the idea that at 211 degrees, water's hot. I mean, you can use it for a lot of purposes, but at 212 degrees, that 1 degree of difference, that extra degree of effort makes a major difference.
I
It
love
can
it.
fuel, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It can fuel a locomotive. I mean, steam
Yeah.
powered
Right.
engines, all of that. I think it's the same in customer service. Really looking for an incremental change and making an incremental difference can lead to some remarkable changes, I think, in the course of a year. And I think it separates really the good from the great. And that's kind of how we started today. Good customer service, which I think people expect nowadays, and great or exceptional customer service is really where we want to be. And that really takes being intentional to be able to accomplish that.
I totally agree with you, and I think that one of the things that I think people don't spend enough time on, Archie, is training, and I think that they try to take it upon themselves to embellish caveats from YouTube, from wherever, so that they can be better. If you go online and you Google customer service, you get all kinds of stuff. Let's briefly talk about, and then we'll have to close a little bit, but I'm afraid this subject matter will get expanded. Let's talk a little bit about AI that's going on in the industry right now and what effects that may have on customer service.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can see it showing up all the time now, especially in fast food. I was just over the weekend in Charleston, South Carolina. Went into a McDonald's. There's nobody at the front.
Wow.
No, there was nobody nobody at the front except to bring the food for a particular order number, but there's nobody taking orders
Oh
at this
gosh.
particular. No,
Wow.
and so I think there are some areas of work, and again, customer service, I think, has been shown to be one of the most stressful jobs you can be in.
Yes.
And it's a high turnover. So I think in some ways, in some ways AI will make customer service better, because I think in some cases maybe it can, eliminate some of the repetitive things that is being done. But if they had just had someone in that McDonald's to really focus on the people side of that business, that would have made a major difference. You know what I mean? They
Yes.
eliminated 3 or 4 people at the front,
Right.
but they took everybody away when they could have had that human factor at the front, serving people really well. Automate the ordering. I'm
Yes.
not trying to
No.
take away from that. So
Right.
you know what I mean? I think AI can help the human side of customer service to really dig deeper on relationships, especially call centers and following up with customers, giving more personalized service. So I'm a believer in AI. I
Okay.
think there are some things we need to be careful of,
Uh-huh.
but especially younger generations are expecting a higher level of customer service, and I think in some cases AI can help that. Help in
There's
that
a
delivery.
group of global leaders that have met already on a summit to deal with AI, and their inputs are very critical because it's having such an effect. Goldman Sachs is thinking about eliminating 300 jobs because of AI. Okay, and so when you talk about automating stuff, one of the caveats is that there's so much data within AI. I mean, it's going to affect so many businesses, and if they don't get a hold of customer service issues now, they're not going to know how to automate when AI takes over their customer service issues. And so I think that you can program. Some set categories, and I'm not going to get into the details because I'm not a tech guy, but there's some
Right.
set platforms that when you have expectations on AI, you can set those. And again, it goes back to the philosophy of customer service. If you're not in tune with your customer when you switch over, things are not going to do well. And AI is not to be trusted all the time either. Okay, it needs to. The redundancy in AI on a technical side is not. It's not. There's no perfect in my opinion. I've worked with software engineers and some other people, but there is no such thing as a perfect piece of software.
Exactly.
And when you lose that element of people, that 1% or that 2% failure on the software side needs to be handled by a person.
Absolutely. And that brings up a word we kind of started with earlier this morning, that I think one area that AI cannot really fulfill, and that's empathy.
Yes,
And
right.
so if you can provide, let's say, if you can really, bring a balance, a partnership together of the speed of AI in processing and the human element of a person's empathy, and be able to combine those together, I think that's where AI and human
Yes.
effort can really be a good partnership in delivering a high level of customer service.
Awesome. Awesome. I agree. Listen, I just want to endorse Archie. You guys, he travels all over. He's in high demand. If you go to his website, archielooper.com, it's Luper, not Looper. So, archielooper.com. And give this guy a go, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. He just did a training for the FBI, FEMA. I mean, so he is not your average trainer. And so he's got some great credentials. And I just want to say thank you so much, Archie, for being on this podcast. And just love you to death. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Lauren. Love you, brother. And congratulations. I think you just finished your first year in podcasting, and you're a blessing.
Thank
and
you.
you're making a difference, and it's appreciated.
All right, listen, you happy New Year's again, and you have a blessed rest of the month.
You too, Lauren. God bless you and your lovely wife, and be blessed.
Take
Look
care.
forward to talking. Look
Thank you.
forward to talking again. Bye
Yes,
bye.
yes, bye.